Hi everyone, how you doing? So if you're tuning in for the first time, my name's Marianne. I'm the owner and the counsellor at Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. I specialise in working with individuals and couples around the areas of stress, depression, low self-esteem, relationships and anxiety. For all of my information, you can find the information on here, but you can also go to my Facebook page, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service, or you can find me on Instagram as Marianne Hanson Counsellor. So what I want to talk about in this video is 4 common fears that we have sometimes and how to beat them. Fear is just an emotion really, but it can get to a point where it feels so powerful that it prevents people from doing things, it holds them back in life. So because I'm also a counsellor and I'm a coach, I've worked with people across the years, I've done coaching, I've done counselling, and fear is a major factor for things like leaving their relationship, moving abroad, entering into a new relationship, starting a new job, leaving their job. And then when you break it down and you unlock those fears and you talk about them, then at the end of the day, sometimes people just say, do you know what, I don't even know why I was so worried about doing this. So these are 4 common fears that lots of people hold. So the first fear is fear of failure. So people who have this fear will not take chances on things. So I worked with someone many years ago who they didn't send CVs because they were worried of not even getting the interview. So we unlocked that by saying, well, you definitely won't get the interview if you don't send the CV, but there's a chance that you might get the interview if you do send your CV. So by not sending it at all, then you have a 100% chance of failing. Failure can teach you something. It can teach you what to change. So if you go out there and you do something and it doesn't work, you can then reflect and say, why didn't that work? And then you can put something in place. For me, I'd rather try something and fail and then evaluate why it failed, why did it go wrong, than not try it at all. The feeling and the emotion from trying something is so exhilarating that I'd prefer to feel like that than to say, do you know what, I'm not even going to attempt this. So I think it's looking at what benefits can we get from failing. You know, what can we learn from failure, but not going into it with a failure mindset, saying we're going to fail, but going in saying, well, if we do, then there's still something we can learn from it. So the second fear that people hold, and it's quite common, is fear of success. So say if you are someone that has come from a certain background, and I've worked with people like this as well, they have to put on a front and they have to pretend that they're still down to earth, as they say. They have to pretend that if they've come from like a council estate or they've come from a particular area, once they start becoming successful, maybe in their role, and they have to dress a certain way differently, they have to talk a different way, they don't have to, but they do, they're starting to, their mindset is different, they can feel like, oh, this feels strange because I'm changing, and this, I'm not getting a good response from my friends, you know, they don't want to connect with me anymore. So the biggest fear for people is not belonging sometimes. So if you have to change who you are to fit in, then people are more likely to do that. Society doesn't help because it has all these like myths about rich people and wealthy people, that they're stuck up, or that they only care about money, or they're greedy, or look at him showing off, or look at her and thinking she's better than everyone else. So if you hold on to those messages, you won't want to be successful because you will only think about the negatives. So first of all, acknowledge that you might be fearful of some stories that you've heard about success. Think about the best case scenario. Tell yourself you deserve to be successful. Ask yourself, what do you have to gain? And what could you lose if you don't go for it? So I'm sat here. I still have 2 free books that I'm supposed to write. I've been going on about these books for about 2 years. I've started writing all of them. Every book that I've got is halfway through. But then there's a part of me that is, I know that at one point I was like, what if I publish it and no one buys the book? What if there's spelling mistakes in this? What if people are like, why is she writing that boring book? Who does she think she is, writing a book on relationships? Who does she think she's, writing a book about depression, about low self-esteem? And then I had to stop and check myself and say, do you know what? If you have the time, the knowledge and the information, why you deserve it. If people don't want to buy it, then that's up to them, but you still deserve to give it a chance. So I think sometimes we just have to acknowledge why we don't want to be successful, because success should be desired, really. I'm not saying you have to want to be successful, but if you know that you're talented in a certain area, or you know that success is going to happen, but you're holding yourself back, think about why. The third thing is fear of falling in love. Lots of people find the idea of falling in love, they think about the vulnerable aspects. This means that someone can hurt me. This means that I'm not going to have control over my emotions. This means that, I'm going to become all sappy and not become the person I was. They don't think about the positives. So the thing to think about really is it's okay to be vulnerable. If you're hurt, you'll be okay, but if you hold back, you won't experience that feeling. I'm someone that I would rather fall in love 10 times and then be heartbroken and then know that I've been in love than to never be in love because I've held back. If you go into a relationship and you've got so many guards up that it doesn't matter what that person does, they're not going to reach you and connect with you, there's probably 0 chance or 1% chance that relationship is going to go anywhere anyway. So why not take the full chance by saying, if I fall in love with this person and then they hurt me, then I know that I'll be okay. But for me, the falling in love, the experience is worth it. I know everyone doesn't think like that, but it's worth thinking about. Think about all the positive things about falling in love. Select the right person to fall in love with, and then recognise there's no guarantees. One of the key things people don't always do is they go into a relationship with someone who they know is not the right person, because it's like a protection thing. If you date someone who you know is not emotionally available, you date someone who dates like 7 people at a time, if you date someone that is completely not your match, you're almost doing it to prove the point that you're not going to fall in love with them anyway, or if that you do fall in love with them, they'll break your heart, so then you can say, that's the reason I only date. I'm not going to use words that some of my clients use, but we all know when you're referring to certain types of people who sleep around, there's certain people who will definitely go for them on purpose because they know that there's no risk, because they know that it's not going to mean anything. And the difficult thing with that is that you're never going to experience a loving relationship because you're avoiding what could be, because you're worried about the fear of falling in love. And the final thing that people fear, there's more fears than this, but these are quite common, is the fear of being alone. Fear of being alone. I'm not talking about like long term or forever. I'm talking about people don't even like being by themselves. I'm here at a short break. Every 3 months I take a short break by myself. I'm so relieved to just go somewhere where I don't have to talk. As a counsellor, we're listening to people all the time. We're answering emails, we're getting phone calls, we're doing referrals. As a social worker, you're doing visits, you're talking to the children in the foster homes, you're talking to the professionals, you're going to meetings. I've had years of always being involved with lots of people. I'm from a big family as well, so there was always noise when I was growing up and shared rooms when I was growing up. Even at university, you're around people. So when I got to become an adult and I was living by myself, it just felt like, wow, this feels good. I'm not saying that I'll always want to be by myself, because I do like being around people as well. I'm a social person, but you don't need to fear being alone or being by yourself. The more time you spend by yourself, the more you will understand yourself. You'll understand your likes, your dislikes. You'll know what you can tolerate and what you can't. You'll know what your boundary levels are. So I think take opportunities to engage with other people, but take opportunities to be by yourself, and don't be fearful of, worried about, if I spend too much time alone, I'm going to overthink, or if I spend too much time alone, I'm going to feel sad. Like for me, I don't have time to be bored. I have to put being bored in my diary if I've got time for it, but I don't have time because I've got so many things that I'm always doing. And that's why I think taking time apart sometimes and just relaxing is good. And I think we can all just embrace that time, and also say to yourself, if you're single or if you're spending a bit of time alone, think of it as being a short period. So you'll say, I'm single, but when I'm making the most of this, I'm going to take advantage of this time when I'm single, because eventually I'm not going to be in this situation. So there's nothing really to fear. There's a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, by Susan Jeffers, I think. And she just talks about just stop worrying, procrastinating, and then you've got Mel Robbins with a 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. A lot of the things we're fearful of, when we do them, we realise, what was we worried about? We've wasted 10 minutes worrying about this when we could have just done it. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, feel free to share it with others. Feel free to like and to leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And also subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching these types of videos, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.